Welcome back to Lipstick and Legacy, the podcast where we celebrate the stories of women who live boldly, love deeply, and leave a mark on the world, one small and powerful step at a time. I am your host, Juliette Berkable, and I am here today with Aubrey Stewart.
Hi.
Hi, can you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Aubrey Stewart. I love being besties with you.
I make you do all these shenanigans, I know.
I'm super impressed that you're starting this podcast and everything that you're doing. I have been in Las Vegas for almost 20 years, maybe 19. Born in Utah, raised in California, but my husband, Vegas born. I like to say I'm Vegas adopted. I really, really love this community. And I have a degree in marriage, family, human development, a bachelor's degree. So that's like a pre-counseling degree. And from that, I ended up working in the addictions recovery community for a while.
Oh, wow.
And not in their counseling, since I didn't have a master's, but instead in their compliance and on their for-profit side. And then on their non-profit side, we started a foundation focused on educating and also scholarships for treatment.
Awesome. Since you said you've lived in a lot of different places, let's go back to where it all began. Mm-hmm. How has living in Utah, California, and eventually in Las Vegas, how has that shaped you?
I think I've seen a lot of different communities, pros and cons, lots of different families, get a feel for the strength and the legacy and the roots. What I really loved about Las Vegas the most is, initially I did not want to move here. Mm-hmm. When my husband said, hey, we woke up one morning after college in Utah and my husband said, we're moving home. And I said, you're moving home. I'm moving to Las Vegas. But the second I got here, I met person after person after person who were born and raised here and stayed here and have generations of roots here. Mm-hmm. It really is a legacy. I love your perfect podcast name, Lipstick and Legacy. It's a legacy of family and history and goodness and service. And I know that you see that in a lot of communities, but where I was raised in California, you're not going to find a lot of people born and raised that stayed around there.
So you were raised in California. What are some early observations of the people, maybe in your family, maybe who raised you, that really inspired you to get your bachelor's degree in family and counseling? What were some of those dynamics like?
Well, I came from a slightly dysfunctional family. So I grew up with a schizophrenic mother. And I lived with her until I was 9. My parents separated when I was 7. My dad remarried a wonderful woman. My stepmom has been my saving grace. And I moved to California when I was 9 to live with them. There's definitely difficult dynamics that comes from a blended family. It comes from mental health. Mm-hmm. And I definitely knew I wanted to go to college. I wanted to succeed because with my mother, we lived on welfare. We lived in a little bit of poverty. With my parents, we were middle class, but they both had to work. My stepmom was a teacher. My dad was a satellite technician, just doing what they could to be home with the family and, put food on the table. So I knew I wanted an education. When I went to college, I took one child development course and it changed my life.
So that was kind of the seed that was planted early on that gave you that spark that made you want to go into that.
Yeah, I think my dad, so hardworking, always inspired hard work and faith. I think my mother, my stepmom, and my dad all had a passion for caring for people and helping people. So that was always instilled in me. And I think just having a faith in God, having faith makes you want to reach out and lift others. And
so I think it's really interesting that you talked about your mother being schizophrenic. Mm-hmm. Can you give me an example of what that was like, maybe a memory or something that really stands out to you that was wow, this is not how it's supposed to be? You don't have to share it either.
Well, it's hard to pick one. I always knew that my mother was different. She just acted and said things that were I don't know, unusual.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell by the way she interacted with other adults, you know. I just knew that we were different.
So there was just that instinct. It was like an instinct. You just knew, like, this isn't how everybody else is. So that's really interesting. You graduated from BYU with a degree in marriage, family, and human development. That's a field fueled by curiosity about people and stories. What drew you to that major? Like, when you were a young college student, what was like, this is the major I want, this is what I want to do?
Well, when I went to college, I was going to be a journalist, a broadcaster. I was majoring in communications. And then I was like, well, maybe I want to switch over to advertising. I don't know. But it was that child development course. I've always loved psychology and social sciences, but that child development course helped me realize that we all have the power to shape ourselves and to shape others. It's not just nature. We're not just who we are and that's it. We can have some control over our relationships and our families, and
I really like that.
We have power to inspire and help people.
I love that. My background's early childhood development and education, and even though I didn't teach for 20 years after I obtained my degree, it was amazing how much I used the information that I learned from all of those studies and different things. Oh, my child's doing this and this is normal, or this isn't normal. You really use those techniques, skills, education in your everyday practices in your life. So.
And it also helps you to see that if your child displays a tendency that's, let's say, abnormal, that's not a problem. It just means the way you approach them is different.
Right. Okay, let's change a little bit of our focus here. In hindsight, I guess this is a follow-up to what we were just talking about. How has this shaped how you parent or how you show up in your community today?
Well, it's definitely shaped how I parent. I mean, my kids at the age of 2 can know the word consequence, right? It's like choice and consequence. I think discipline is a huge part of parenting, but discipline does not have to be angry. It does not have to be harsh. It's love. If you're talking about love, is there really love if there's no teaching or discipline involved in it? So I do believe that we can teach our kids, we can give them boundaries, we can give them expectations, reasonable ones for them to reach for, and we can create clear communication standards where we can have open, honest conversations with each other and also respect each other's boundaries. I think there's a lot that you can do with parenting from understanding human development or child development.
And what about your work in your community? I know this is fast forwarding a bit, but every Monday, first Monday of the month, you go out and you do Feed the Homeless. How does that background that you've obtained inspire you to do those things in the community? And how do you think it helps?
I think stepping back, in college and younger, I always wanted to make a difference in the world. I wanted to be a light in the world. There were a lot of people in my life growing up that were lights to me. And I wanted to be that too. And I think I thought big. And that's okay to think big. I think that's amazing. Some people are capable of doing big, grand things. And when I was working in the addiction recovery field and I was plowing forward with this foundation, I felt like I was doing big things. And then there came a time in my life where I had to step back because my family needed to be my focus. And I didn't have enough energy to give everything to everybody. And I had to choose, okay, my family is where my energy is going to go right now. And for a minute, I felt like I wasn't doing big things anymore, which I was. My family is a big thing and they are my priority, and I don't regret that at all. But I started to realize I don't have to be part of a big organization. I don't have to have a huge, bullet point on my resume to go do something good. And I found this community of people that were just going out and feeding this group of impoverished in the same neighborhood. Every time you go to the same neighborhood, you meet a lot of the same people, you get to know them. And I thought that was beautiful. So I incorporated my family into it, and we've been doing it for a few years, and now I get to help lead it. We just did it last night.
I've been out with you before, and it's a unique experience. Sometimes you'll have 5 or 10 people who need help, and your group actually they've set up tables, they provide usually a hot meal, whether that's chili or soups or something. And I've noticed too, and I've brought my children and my grandchildren out, what an experience it is for our children to see how other people live, and to also see that these people are people, no different than us. They have mental health, they have issues with their getting their lives together, whatever the reason is, but they are people just like us. Tell me your experience a little bit about your children's experience and the why you do it.
My children love this. They love it. I mean, it's even just the car ride there and the car ride back yesterday, I was thinking, they're so happy. They're kinder to each other. And, you know, we're listening to music and we're singing songs, and we're happy that we're going to do this. And when we get there, there's almost too many helping hands, not enough jobs for everybody.
I noticed that, yes.
So we definitely put the kids and the teenagers on the front line at the table serving. And I taught my kids early on what we're going to go do and provide food or items for these people we meet in this community is wonderful, but the greatest thing we're going to do is have a human connection with them. We're going to let them know that we love and care for them, and we're going to have conversation with them. And so that's not instinctively easy to just suddenly talk to a stranger, especially a stranger that might seem different than you. And so it's really been sweet to watch that grow in them over the years. It's easier now for them to have conversations. You know, someone came up yesterday with a dog, and my daughter was just like, "Oh my goodness, I love your dog. Tell me what her name is." And, you know, having a real more conversation than, "Hi, how was your day?" So I was just standing in the back watching this whole line of youth serving people and interacting with them. And that, it really struck me like, this is compassion, this is connection, this is what I want everyone to receive out of it. It's not just us giving to someone else, they're giving back. You know, we're creating a connection in our community.
I really love that. I think that sometimes people have this idea that there's not that community in Las Vegas, and I think that's a real big misconception.
Oh, yes.
And that's what I'm trying to break down. And I love that this is a grassroots effort. I've loved going and seeing all of that. One thing I've noticed too, when I take a small group of girls to a memory care center here in Las Vegas, and I realize that the more they go, the more comfortable they get being in a place that's not comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's really important, that children learn how to be comfortable in uncomfortable places.
Oh, I agree. And it's also important for them to see that there are lives outside of their own that are different than their own and also have so much value.
That's awesome. All right, let's back up a little bit. You talked about your early work, that where you were having a career and you were doing all these things. Tell me about that foundation you worked for and what the purpose was and what you were doing. I know that's a lot, but try to fit it all in there.
So when Mark and I moved here to Las Vegas, I had my daughter Erica, and she was probably preschool right before kindergarten. And so I was substitute teaching for a while, just when I could, because, you know, can't be away from your kids for too long. So that was enjoyable. But she was going into kindergarten, and my friend reached out to me, and she was doing finance for this new startup company called Solutions Recovery. And it was a new kind of innovative way to do addiction recovery here in the Valley. And it was a startup. And so she said, "Hey, I know you have a degree in human development. I know that you can't do counseling, but you could come do like compliance for our counselors and help us license things. And I think you do a great job." And so I went and I applied, met with the owner, David Marlin, and he hired me. And I had no idea how to do any of this. You know, I was fresh out of college, but I cared about it and I believed in myself. And I said, okay, let's figure this out. So it was really well. I ran compliance for his for-profit side, and it's really complicated. Anytime you're doing anything nonprofit, there's so much government red tape, and you have to, you know, cross all your T's and dot all your I's. And in order for that company to succeed and people to be helped, you have to make sure everything's by the book, right? So that was my job. But the fun part came when he said, "Hey, let's do a nonprofit too. Let's start a foundation." So I started that foundation. We got a board together, and we applied for grants, and we were able to from that nonprofit provide tuition for people to receive treatment. But also we were able to focus on education, and we would go into schools and we would teach kids the dangers of substance abuse, Not just the dangers of that for themselves and prevention, but also kind of an understanding, a compassion for people that were going through it and why it is far more difficult than it might seem on the outside. And I really enjoyed that.
So it sounds like you had a great passion for this work, for this type of work, which is a grind. I mean, I get there's some joy and you see some success, but there's a lot of steps backwards.
Yeah, I mean, it can be so joyous to see people succeed, but it's also heartbreaking to see people, fail. And you never fail until you stop trying. But also on top of that, it is a grind, just the tedious everyday work. I mean, licensing every program, dealing with every accreditation. It's tedious.
It's tedious. So you were doing this, you were feeling fulfilled in it, you loved the work. Why did you choose to stop your career, put a hold on the career, and be a stay-at-home mom? Because that's what you are at this point in your life.
Well, that actually ended up being pretty personal for me, because while I was doing this, I was doing both jobs, the for-profit and the nonprofit, and I ended up getting really, really sick.
Oh.
After pregnancy with my second child, I was sick that whole pregnancy. And when she was about 6 months old, I realized, this is something more than just pregnancy sickness. And it took a really long time for us to figure out with the doctors what was wrong. It turns out I had Crohn's disease, which now is completely manageable, but without the right medication and understanding, I mean, I was dying. It was really
so
bad.
You were still working.
Yeah.
You had
for both companies.
two children and working 2 jobs, managing a house and a marriage, and you were sick.
Very sick.
Were you like in and out of the hospital? Like how sick were you?
I lost a significant amount of weight. Eating was really difficult for me. Very low energy. I had friends that would say, "What can I do for you?" And it was like, I don't know what you can do for me. And one friend said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come take your kid so you can get a nap." And twice a week she would take my child so I could take a nap. I mean, that's the kind of love and service in this community. But the stress of both jobs was just taking a toll on me. So we finally got diagnosed. We figured out what was wrong. I started on a pretty intense medication. I just wasn't healing as quickly as I should be, probably mostly from the stress of trying to manage too many things. And I turned to prayer. I turned to the Lord, and I really felt like the answer was, for your family right now, they need to be your focus. You can do a lot of good in the world, but start with your family. And that was kind of a big sacrifice for my husband and I, because we had just bought a house. And, we had our own financial responsibilities, and I was very fulfilled with this job, and it was a hard decision. My boss was really awesome, and he said, "Hey, why don't you start by just working from home? We'll cut you back half time. You can do things from home, and that way you can be present." And that worked for a while. It did. Then I had my 3rd kid, and it was like even working from home wasn't.
It's just almost impossible to work from home with small children.
It's hard to be as present. There are some women that somehow juggle so many things, and I think it's amazing. But you have to prioritize, and you have to be really self-aware about what you have to give and where you want to give it. So
was that mentally hard? I think as women, we're expected in society to have a marriage and children and a career and do it all beautifully. And it can be almost impossible. The weight of it can be overwhelming. Was it hard for you to make that shift and still feel valued and feel as important as you did in the workforce?
Yeah, I think it's a very big difference. I hear some young women say to me sometimes, "I just want to be a mom." And I say, be so careful with that word just. Because
yes, it's a lot.
I've been working since I was 11. I was taking care of children since I was 11, waitressing, secretary. Like, I have been working my whole life, and nothing is as difficult as being a mom full time. It is 24/7, never ending. And the worry and the concern and the joy, all of the good things too, but it's exhausting, right? The problem is that having a career does give you more validation. People pat you on the back or tell you you're doing a good job, or you get a raise, or you have a paycheck coming in that validates what you're doing. And you have to find your validation in your relationship with your kids,
And that can be really difficult. I've found that having your paycheck and having your own money, and it gives you such a feeling, a sense of like, I can do this myself. I can do it all myself. And so when you choose to stay home, I've stayed at home many years with a large family. And sometimes it feels like I should be doing something more. I should be doing something bigger and more important.
Constantly.
So how do you do your work in your home as importantly as you do it in the world? So what makes it important? What are your views on that?
Well, I think that those thoughts that you were talking about are really prevalent with stay-at-home moms, with women who choose to put the career to the side. I think it's amazing if you can do both. But that feeling of, am I doing enough, kind of gets in your head, and you have to stop and remember, I chose this. I chose to put my time and energy into this. So how am I going to do this as successfully as I can? How am I going to be intentional at raising my kids, at creating relationships, at finding my own self-growth, right? And you have to be really intentional. So sometimes it takes time. It takes time to think, what do I want for myself? How can I carve out time for that so that I'm still progressing and growing and feeling fulfilled? What are my children's needs? How do I meet those? It does take intention and planning.
How do you measure success in your home and your children? I have 10 children. I have one at home still, and they're all various ages. And when they were all running around and little, I thought they were all going to do all these amazing things. They were going to play the piano, and they were going to be great on their ACTs and get into fabulous colleges. And as they've aged up and I've seen them grow, most of these things have not happened. How do you measure success when you put your children out into the world? And now I have to give this to you with a grade of Aubrey has the most amazing children, and when they speak, they're eloquent, even the little ones. And so I really strive to raise children still as you do, and you've been a great example to me of raising children. But what is your measure of success for raising children?
That's super sweet of you to say. I do love my kids, but they are as human as we all are. And I think that that's a really personal choice. I think we all have to kind of pick our battles. What is it we want to instill in our children? And we can't instill everything, right? And there's so much room for them to have their own agency and passions and interests. For example, all of my kids have to take piano lessons. Not all of my kids love it, and not all of my kids are going to be good at it, but at least they're learning something, and they're learning that they're capable of learning something. And I tell my one daughter that hates it the most, it's just a gift. I'm not going to force you to practice, but someone's going to show up every week and teach you something, and it's just a gift from me. And if you utilize it, you do or you don't.
That's a great way to look at it.
But I think for me, I think it's really important for my kids to be able to succeed and be independent when they leave the house. So success for me is my kids having self-confidence, an ability to learn, an ability to believe in themselves, a faith in their relationship with God, and probably a concern and compassion for other people. Those are kind of things that are really important to me. I know a lot of families have family mottos, and I think we tried to create that when they were young, and it was a little bit complicated, and it was like, yeah, we're faithful and adventurous, and we invest in education, and we love service, and it was just like, really? I want you to have faith, and I want you to work hard and be kind. And that's really what it comes down to.
Based on what I've seen from you through your example, I probably could have written your motto, because the things that you want for your children, I see in them. And I know that children have their agency, and so we turn them out into the world, or as teenagers, they're going to do things. But after we've done all we can do, we hope that some of those things have been instilled in them. I think it's really important as parents and as women to, whether you're a single mom or you're working or you're home full-time, to do the most you can with what you have.
Absolutely.
And to build people and children that will build stronger communities.
Yeah.
So I really do believe by you taking them to feed the homeless, by giving them opportunities like piano lessons, taking them to church so they can speak, different things, you're building children that will give back to a community in a way that is positive. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And I love what you said, do the best with what you have. Because sometimes I have 100% and sometimes I got 20.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can have a little grace for myself, I mean, the amount of times I have just put myself into my room and cried over whether it was an argument or a failure or exhaustion. Relationships are hard, no matter what it is, whether it's being a daughter or a wife or a mother or a friend. Relationships are hard, and you just have to have grace for yourself. And also this confidence that if you keep going, if you keep giving and keep trying, it's going to improve. It's going to be worth it.
What would you say to someone listening to this podcast who says, okay, that's great, she's got a nice husband and she's got money for piano lessons and all those opportunities. How can I, a working mom, working 1 or 2 jobs, maybe single, maybe living paycheck to paycheck, how can I instill those qualities in my children when I might not have the resources to provide the opportunities? Where can I start?
Well, I think it starts in prayer for me. It starts with me knowing I'm not alone and that God will help me along the way. But you know, when I had my first daughter, I was a single mom, and that was terrifying, but also financially difficult. I was trying to get myself through school. I was working part to full time, as many hours as I could between that and school and needing to be there for my daughter. And I was literally living negative paycheck to negative paycheck. So you don't have to have a lot of resources, but you do have to have a desire to put that relationship first. And I think when you teach accountability for yourself and your kids, I think accountability is huge. Knowing right and wrong, knowing boundaries and accountability, and teaching faith and love and kindness, it comes together. And also this determination to not give up, because I mean, I think we've all been there where we just feel like this is going nowhere, or I'm spinning in circles.
Yes.
But you keep spinning. And you know, sometimes you take a second to reassess and say, what am I spending too much time wasting time on, and what's actually working? Let me recalibrate. Let me figure out what's working. Let me figure out what's not working, and let's just keep moving forward. And let's surround ourselves with people that lift us up and help us along the way, because we're not an island. We can't do it alone, but we can do it. We can accomplish things together.
I have found in my life and through my life experience that it is always the small and simple acts of other people that really carry you through if you're having a hard time. So how do you find a community if you're, say you're a single mom or somebody who doesn't have family here in town? How do you find community when you feel alone, when you need support? Where can you look for community?
So for me, I've been blessed because of my religion. The gospel provides this amazing community of church-going people. But I think I've also found community through school with my kids. Anywhere you can find service. I think anywhere you find service, you can find people that want to lift and encourage. And even if you see the world differently, you have this common bond of we want to create good in the world and we want to help people. And you find these people that are then there to help and lift you too.
I love that. Let's switch gears a little bit. One other question about being a stay-at-home mom. How do you maintain yourself? What are some things that you do besides all the things? You're a chauffeur, you're a cook, you're a manager, you're the laundry person, all of the things. How do you find time, and what do you do for that self-care to remind yourself that you are important and that you matter and that your voice matters? What are some things that you do?
This has been really hard for me.
It's hard for a lot of people.
My constant thing that I turn back to. And at this point in my life, my kids are older. So my youngest is 10. They're more independent. I have more time to find that for myself. But I also have to be easy on myself, because there are amazing women around me that are accomplished at everything they do. And if I compare myself to that, I end up feeling worse than when I started. Like, I would love to learn to build, and I would love to learn to garden, and I would love to learn how to do things to create, because I love to create. But it takes a lot of time and energy and effort, and it also takes a lot of failure. And so sometimes I'm more depleted than replenished. And sometimes I have to say, okay, this is not the time and season for that right now, and it's okay. Sometimes I just need to have a break. When my kids were really little and I wasn't getting enough sleep and every day felt like Groundhog's Day, just super repetitive and exhausting, the simplest thing I did was find a crossword puzzle app. And I know that sounds like so silly. Lame. Yeah. But I like crosswords. I'm good with words. It's something, like I like brain games. And it was like every morning when I opened my eyes, I knew that there was a new crossword for me to do. And if I went and did list A, B, and C, I could have 20 minutes to do the crossword, and then D, E, F, I could have 20 minutes. And it just makes me laugh looking back, because that was my saving grace in those moments, is I just allotted myself 20 minutes at a time to do something that just I wanted to do. And there was no pressure. It wasn't hard. It was relaxing for me.
That's so funny. It was just a few minutes. For me, it was always the shower. I felt like that was the one place, because it was the water was coming down. Yes. Nobody would come. Even if they were on the outside, little
you
children.
Were alone.
I was alone. I'm like, nope, nobody can come in here. And so I think as women, we need to find that space, whatever it is, whether it's in your car after school drop off, or in the shower or the bathroom, or doing a crossword puzzle in the garage for 5 or 10 minutes. It's okay.
Something to look forward to.
Yes.
That's just for you.
I love that.
And that's awesome. And also, you're the biggest proponent of exercise, though.
Yes.
But being outside and getting exercise, and then finding a way to get sleep. Those just for your mental health, especially when your kids are young. I have a sister-in-law right now that has 5 kids under the age of 10. And I just keep telling her, she is amazing. She's doing a wonderful job. But I remember being at that stage. I'm like, you'll come out the other side of this. You will. You will sleep again. You will find yourself again. I think that's a really important message to give to women, especially, is that this season, I promise, it will end. And there'll be a new season with new challenges. And also that there is so much joy in this season. It's hard to see sometimes through the exhaustion.
Yes.
But I used to have these moments, I call them my snapshot moments, Now we all have phones and we take pictures of everything. But it was I was just taking a mental picture. In an hour of chaos where I was trying to make dinner and kids were crying and someone needed homework and someone fell down, and suddenly they're all at the table laughing at something.
It's a snapshot moment.
That's really a snapshot moment. And I would try to just focus on that as I went to sleep at night. There were 2 snapshot moments today, and I loved those.
Oh, so you're focusing on that joy. All right, 2 more questions. Now that your kids you have one out of the house, one leaving soon, you don't have any little tinies at home anymore. What's your idea for your next phase with your career or your home life? What does that look like?
This is what I think of every day, Juliet.
I think of it too.
So right now, I am still focusing on being a mom, and I'm also a caretaker for my mother-in-law that lives with us.
That's a lot.
And she has dementia.
That's a whole nother podcast.
It does put complications into things. Because in my mind, when my youngest was in kindergarten, I was going to go back to school and get my master's, and I was going to be a therapist. And COVID hit when he hit kindergarten, and my mother-in-law moved in with me. And plans change, and that doesn't mean I can't still accomplish what I want, but I do have to reassess, is that what I want? Because if it is, I'm going to put all my time and energy into it, and other things will have to sacrifice, right? So I'm a little too wishy-washy trying to decide, but I do know that I want to do nonprofit or compassionate work. So whether my options right now are to do schooling and be a therapist, which was the original plan, or my old boss with the addiction recovery program created a new nonprofit called Vegas Stronger, which is doing amazing here. Wonderful things for, I say the homeless, they say the unhoused, but really wonderful things for the community. And I have an opportunity to go back there and help there. Or I even saw that they're building Opportunity Village right down the road from us, and you can do behavioral therapy and help with people at Opportunity Village. So there's a lot of opportunities for me, and I need to focus on what it is I want to put everything into, and we'll see, one step at a time.
My last question that I ask every person that comes on to my podcast is, what do you want your legacy to be?
I think about this all the time. Like, what do I want it to say on my tombstone?
Basically, what do you want them to say on your tombstone?
I pride myself a lot on being a hard worker. I sometimes tell my kids, work harder than anyone else in the room. And I do think that's important. But more important than that, I think, is my faith in God and being a light. I just want people to say of me, she was a light in the world and she loved God. And if people can see that from knowing me, then that's all that matters.
I think that's a beautiful legacy. Thank you for coming on today, Aubrey. Your story, your vision, your passion, and your ability to build our community right here, starting where you are, is a tremendous example to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Julia. I'm really inspired by watching you do everything that you do.
Thank you. Till next time.
Yeah.